Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Joelle and this is Joelle Makes Food. So today I'm making chili lime chicken with peppers and onions for dinner. It's a staple item in my kitchen. It's a really great low-carb keto dish, tons of flavor, tons of nutritional value. So before we get started, I want to look a little bit deeper into our ingredients. So first we have our chicken. This is a lean source of protein. So this is definitely a good part of any diet, but especially when you're focusing on low carb and keto. Then we have things like our jalapeno, cilantro, and lime. So this is a whole lot of guilt-free flavor. So I kind of think of those as my flavor freebies because they don't really affect your macros very much. So we have the jalapenos, good source of vitamin A, C, flavor, and a bit of heat. So if you're not really into spicy per se, I will show you in the video how to remove the seeds of the jalapenos. Once the seeds are removed, you get all the flavor and none of the spice. So don't get scared. Also, we have our cilantro. So cilantro is great. It's an anti-inflammatory and it also may lower blood sugar. So this is a really great point because obviously on a low carb keto diet, you want to be keeping that blood sugar low. And then we have our lime. So lime brings a great hit of citrus. It also has antioxidant properties. And I mean, it's great flavor, right? Whenever you're using citrus with meat, it's going to help to tenderize that meat and bring in all of the flavor really nicely. So this dish really maxes out the ingredients, really plays off of all of their strengths, and it turns something that could potentially be boring, like chicken, it gets a little repetitive, and brings it in and makes it an all-around delicious meal. So now that we've taken a look at the ingredients, let's get started. So first we're going to get ourselves half a cup of fresh lime juice. So I choose to juice these fresh. I would recommend to anybody else to do the same. I find that artificial citrus doesn't quite taste as good, but I mean, whatever you have access to. Perfect. I wish you guys could smell this. It's just really pungent, really citrusy. It's like perking me up. So now we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of olive oil. Delicious. So now we'll add a little bit of fresh lime zest. Typically, I would zest this before I juice, but I forgot today. So again, fresh lime zest just has such amazing flavor, aroma. It really kicks it up a notch. Next, we're gonna chop up 4 tablespoons of cilantro. So I do a lot of this by eye. So I'm looking at this now, I'm like, yeah, that's about 4 tablespoons. I like cilantro, so I don't mind if it's a little cilantro heavy. So now we're gonna get our jalapenos ready. So you're gonna wanna take the little stems off, and we're gonna split them in half. So in here you have the ribs as well as the seeds. If you remove the ribs and the seeds, this will help it not be spicy. It actually won't be spicy at all. So you can kind of moderate how spicy your chicken is based on how much of this you leave in. So for the purposes of this recipe and my spice level, I take half of the seeds out and I leave half of the jalapenos with the seeds in. So you can tailor it to however you prefer. So we're just gonna run that smooth spoon along the inside and it scoops out the pith. Perfect. So now half of my jalapenos have no seeds and ribs, half of them do. That's going to get me the desired level of spiciness. Now I'm going to mince these up. For anyone wondering, the reason I am wearing gloves while I do peppers is because once you start cutting up hot peppers with seeds, the oil and the seeds, if they get onto your hands, if you touch your eyes, any really sensitive skin, you risk burning. So just to make sure I cover my bases, I like to use gloves. In the event that you don't decide to use gloves, I would wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water afterwards, even soaping up and watering twice. So I'm making sure to get a really nice small chop on this. This would be like mincing it. Perfect. So now my jalapenos are nice and chopped. I'm gonna put this into my marination bowl. So I use a Pyrex dish that can be covered and I throw it into the fridge. You could also just use a metal bowl, whatever dish you would like. Just cover it up and put it in the fridge when you decide to marinate. So next, we're gonna add our garlic. So I have 4 cloves of garlic here. I'm using a garlic crusher. You could microplane this. You could chop them up really finely. I just like this little thing. It works really well. Awesome. So now we have all of our garlic in there. And then next, we are going to add our spices. So here I have 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, and half a teaspoon of red chili flakes. So all of these guys are gonna really pull our olive oil, cilantro, jalapeno mix together here. Tastes delicious, and then we'll add our chicken. I'm just gonna give this a good mix. Okay, so our marinade is done. Now we're gonna add our chicken. So I'm using chicken breast for this recipe. You can use chicken thighs if you like. I'd probably recommend it. I find dark meat really absorbs the flavor, but my husband prefers chicken breast and the recipe works great with it. So that's what we're using today. I choose to tenderize my chicken. So I'm gonna mash it out. It makes it cook evenly. It also makes little perforations in the skin so it marinates nicer. So right now I'm going to pound this out. So there we go. And then I'm going to put it right into my marinade. Now that I have all of my chicken pounded out, we're just going to mix it into the marinade so that all the sides are coated and they're all getting covered in all of this deliciousness. So you really want to turn and coat many a times. That way we know all of this good flavor is reaching all of the chicken. So now this is ready. You can marinate for up to 3 hours. On average, I probably marinate this sometimes about 2 hours. So now that we put our chicken into the fridge to marinate, I'm going to slice up some peppers and onions. The peppers and onions are going to be sauteed in the pan once we pan fried our chicken. A delicious addition. These are really great as well because peppers are high in vitamin C, A, phytonutrients, as well as fiber. So fiber is really important on a low-carb diet as well. You got to make sure you have enough of it. It keeps things moving and it really helps with the whole carb situation. So here we go. We're going to make nice thin pepper strips. So think fajitas, right? When you're making fajitas, you would have nice thin strips of pepper as well as onions. So this is the same idea. So essentially this recipe is like a deconstructed fajita, which works really well if you're on a low-carb diet. Perfect. Gonna put these guys over here. And then we have our onion. Now, once our skin's removed, we're gonna do length slices of onion. And here we go, we can break them up. So now we have little slices of onion. We also have slices of pepper. I'm gonna throw these in a bowl, let them sit so that they're ready for me when I wanna throw them into the pan. Now we've taken the chicken out of the fridge. It has marinated adequately. And we're gonna get it into the pan. So I set my pan to a medium-high heat. It's actually closer to high, to be honest. And I'm doing a light drizzle of avocado oil. So not a lot, very light. I'm gonna spread that. The marinade already has olive oil, so I'm really just doing this so it has a moment to char a bit on the outside, but I don't wanna over oil it because it already has oil in the marinade. So now I'm gonna test to make sure my pan is hot. Putting a little bit of the marinade on there. Oh, you see that sizzle? That means we're ready. We're gonna take our chicken, add it to the pan. So my pan is fairly large, so I'm able to do all of my chicken breasts without crowding. If for some reason your pan is smaller, you don't want to overcrowd the chicken. So I would suggest doing it in more than one batch. Now from here, we're going to be frying. We might flip 1 or 2 times. And on average, you'll probably fry somewhere at about 8 minutes per side. So within 15 minutes, you should be able to have all of this fried up and at the desired cooking. So I'm starting to like the look of my chicken right now. So there's a lot of nice charring around the edges, which is what we want. I'm going to take a quick temperature check on the thickest part of my chicken to see where we're at. Nice. So we're at 133 Fahrenheit right now. So I'm going to leave it on a little bit longer. Cooked chicken should be at about 165 to 175. Ooh, look at that. I love the way my chicken's looking. We have some great charred bits. Now I'm removing it off of the heat. So I'm going to set this aside, let it rest. I just wanted you guys to take a look. So as you're trying to achieve your crispy ends, you might end up burning some of the excess marinade. So I just use a flipper or a spatula, something with a little bit of gusto that can scrape off the burnt bits. I'm gonna put that off to the side, but not clean the pan because it's still full of really great flavor. And then we're gonna throw our peppers and onions in. So now that I've cleared my pan, I'm going to add a few scoops of leftover marinade. So I have some peppers there, some of the juice, and then a little drizzle of avocado oil. We're gonna mix this around. Then I'm gonna add my peppers and onions. So ideally, if we could get a little char on the peppers, that'll be good. And we're just trying to cook the onions down enough so obviously they're cooked, but not mushy. So I've been cooking my onion and pepper mix for probably about 2-3 minutes now. And for me, this is done. So the integrity of the pepper and onions are still there. It's not overly mushy. It still has like a bit of that natural crunch to it. So I don't want to overcook it. So this is fine for me. But if you prefer it a little bit more cooked, then by all means, feel free to saute it for a little bit longer. So now that my onions and peppers are done, I'm just going to throw them into a serving bowl, and then I'll show you guys how to serve up your chicken. So now we have our peppers and onions that have been cooked. They're looking delicious. I also rested my chicken. So now I'm going to slice my chicken and add it to my peppers for serving. So from here, I take my breast. I tend to cut it on a bias. So I look at, when I look lengthwise here, I do a little angle. And that's the angle I cut it on. I think it also turns out just being a little bit more tender when you do it this way as well. And aesthetically, it looks pleasing. Now that I've chopped up all of my chicken, I'm going to put it in my serving plate. And now we have our final product. So we have our peppers and onions that have been pan fried along with some of the marinade from the chicken. And over here, we have our chili lime chicken. So now you're ready to enjoy. I'll be pairing this with cauliflower rice and adding a little bit of lime and cilantro to it for extra kick. And then I also made pico de gallo that I'll be serving with it as well. So really anybody can enjoy this meal. This is a great family choice, especially if there are people in your family who don't eat low carb or keto, because you can easily combine all of these ingredients into a fajita. So really it's a win-win situation. So thank you for tuning in. Please hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications as well. And that way you don't miss any more of my low carb keto recipes. Have a good one, guys.